the foundation of all true worship. As you know, in this church, we're doing a lot of noise in worship, okay? We clap our hands, the drums, the guitars, and we believe in worshiping God with everything we have. Bible says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. We clap hands, there's no limits to the freedom of worship. But listen to me. The foundation of worship is not how loudly you shout or how high you jump or dance. The foundation of worship or true worship is out of our deep sense of gratitude to God, we give ourselves to the Lord. There's a sense in which we lay ourselves on the altar as our very first act of worship. And everything else we do and say, whether it's sing, whether it's clap, flows, whether it's giving, comes out of our sense of total, complete surrender to Him. That's the point of time at which God touches them and they experience this grace of giving. I can never give God more than He has given me. I can never give God more than He has given me. The golden rule in giving is this: the attitude is critical. God is more concerned about your attitude than about the amount you give. Say, Pastor, then how much must I give? The decision about how much you give is yours. But don't ever give because you feel pressurized or manipulated. Least of all, to impress somebody else with how generous you are. But here's what Paul says in chapter 9 of 2 Corinthians 7. Each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. How much should you give? What you have decided in your heart to give cheerfully, not under compulsion. You've heard me say this before. Just before I move to the next question. God blesses me not just to raise my standard of living, but to raise my standard of giving. You got it right. Give where you are being spiritually fed. Give where you are being spiritually fed. I have a friend, pastor friend, who puts this in somewhat crass terms. He says, you know how it is sometimes, sometimes people get confused about where the priorities lie. One of my friends, some of you know Pastor Ajit Daniel, was telling me how on one occasion when they were pioneering their church, he said there was this family that, they were really afflicted by all kinds of problems. There were people, demonized in that home, and because of which there was sickness. So he said, we spent 3-4 days, almost an entire week. We fasted and prayed and went to that home and cast out the demon. And it was a wonderful miracle that happened as a result of our ministry. And after a week when we went back, the family was so excited to see us. They said, thank God, God has healed us. Thank God, life has come into this home. And you know what, we are so grateful, we are sending a contribution to some TV evangelist. It's funny, isn't it? And at that time, particularly, Ajit was saying, we were looking to the Lord for our daily bread. We were trusting the Lord to live by faith. Another one of my pastor friends used to say, it's something like, when you do that, you go into Peter Cat, you enjoy the great meal, and you come out and pay the bill at Golden Dragon or barbecue. Simple. Give where you are being spiritually fed. Give to please God, not to impress people. But just one final word, friends. And I'm going to ask you this. I want you to think about it. Do you think the Lord and Creator of the universe needs my financial help? What do you think? Huh? Creator, He created, He owns it. You think He needs my help? And why does He ask us to give? This is what you would call the bottom line in it. He asks us to give. Not because He needs us to give, but because we need us to give. He wants us to experience the blessing of giving. He wants us to experience what it means to be detached from wealth and possessions. Because remember what I said, that's the greatest challenge to God's lordship in this universe. The greatest competitor to God's loyalty is mammon. Little African boy came to a missionary's door one day with a large fish in his hand. He says, "Missionary, you taught us what tithing is. So here I brought you my tithe." As the missionary took the fish, he was very grateful and he said, "So if this is your tithe, where are the other 9 fish?" Can you guess? Little boy smiled and said, "Back in the river. I'm going back to catch them now." This is what Jesus meant when He said, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." That's it, friends. The last word, another thing I want you to write down is, I wrote it 40 years ago, the back of my Bible. God is no man's debtor. God is no man's debtor.